Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Emily here, as usual, better known as the Meta Fairy. And today we have a very interesting episode. I want to talk about fragrance because there's a lot of information on the internet. There's a lot of, I feel like the word fragrance has been completely demolished in the world of skincare. And I want to shed some clarity in what it means, fragrance, and if it's good or bad. So, all the information that I'm going to talk about today, obviously, these are things that I have researched. These are things that I have known for a while. But with all the research that I've done, I want to shed some light on the subject because it's not a black or white answer. It's more complicated than that. So let's talk about the word fragrance at first because it's kind of confusing. Is it perfume? Is it a smell? Like, obviously it's a smell, but the word fragrance is really a term that will define a bunch of different compounds that are put together to create that specific smell. So when it comes to fragrance, there's a lot of things that will be included in that ingredient that they have shaped and formed in a lab. I want to go over the different types of fragrance because you have three different types. You have the natural fragrance, which would be a chemical that is naturally occurring in plants. Very simple. It's taken from the plant and they're using that. Essential oil is going to be a second one. So essential oils, you won't see it in the term fragrance if it's part of the compounds that are making the fragrance, but if it's added on its own individually as an oil, it will be listed in the ingredient label. But a lot of cosmetic companies can use essential oils like a blend as part of the compounds that make up the fragrance of their products, but you won't necessarily see that. The third and final fragrance type would be a synthetic. So this is when they are created in a lab. And I feel like there's a lot of judgment on synthetic fragrances or just the synthetic products in general, which to me is crazy because when a synthetic fragrance is created in a lab, it's actually more stable and more sustainable. And they know exactly how it's going to react on someone. So it's more predictable as a type of ingredient when it's synthetic. Sometimes we'll give the example for essential oils, for example. They can be quite strong if the concentration, because essential oils, a drop of essential oil can be quite strong for the skin. So just because it's a natural essential oil, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily more stable or less irritating on the skin. So these are your three different types of essential oil of fragrances that you will find in a label. So the kicker is that you will never know which type of fragrance is in that product. That is not information that is disclosed on your label. So when you read a label and you see the word fragrance, you're not going to know if it's just essential oils. You're not going to know if it's a synthetic or natural fragrance. They don't reveal what's in their fragrance blend because that's actually something that each company does keep for themselves. It's like they own that formula, so they don't necessarily want to share what they do and how they do it. So that's why the term really just bundles everything together, and there you go. There's a little difference between fragrance-free and unscented. Huge difference. So the first one, fragrance-free, will imply that there's nothing that's been added to the formula to add any smells. Unscented means that there has been some ingredients added to mask the unpleasant smell of the product. So you have to realize that when a product is being made, sometimes it doesn't smell nice. The raw materials of the ingredients, they don't necessarily smell like roses when they come out of the lab. So they're thinking about the customer experience when they put it on their skin. If it smells like garbage or like just a very unpleasant smell, you're not going to put it on your face. It's just not a great experience. So unscented is actually a type of way of saying, hey, we added some things in there to mask the smell that is actually not really good. So it doesn't mean that it's necessarily fragrance free. Now, the question that kills is it good or bad? Is fragrance, is one type better than the other? Now, something that I hear often is, oh, but I'm allergic to fragrance. So, according to the American Academy of Dermatology, there's actually only 1% of the population that actually has a proper fragrance allergy. And you have to remind yourself that an irritation is not necessarily the same thing as an allergic reaction. It's really not the same thing. If you have an allergic reaction to certain fragrances, there are so many different compounds in a fragrance that it's very, very hard to pinpoint exactly which compound you are allergic to. So, again, I think it comes to if you're that person that has difficulty using products that have smells or even the tiniest smells and you always react or you always have a irritation, I think you should look at first and foremost, well, do you have a chronic inflammatory skin condition such as eczema, which that's one common one that you kind of have to be careful with. And is your moisture barrier actually healthy? Because we all know this, when your moisture barrier is completely stripped off because you're using strong actives or because you're using exfoliants every day, your moisture barrier is going to be completely thrown off balance and it will let all the irritants in because of the tiny little cracks that it has in there. So you're going to react to everything. Even if it's unscented, you will react to it. So these are two things that I would look at if you're someone that's very, very, very sensitive. I would look at, okay, well, is my moisture barrier actually healthy? And that a professional can help you out with that. Or do I have a chronic, active, inflammatory skin condition, such as eczema or even active rosacea? Active rosacea, depending on the level of your rosacea, you probably can take products. I mean, I do know that you can because I have a bunch of clients on products that we have, and most of them do have a very tiny amount of fragrance. But it's something that you just have to check with your skin professional. And if you are always reacting, you can always get some testing done to see if there's certain particular ingredients that you're reactive to. So these are things that you can do to kind of see if you fall in that category. It's really hard to base a decision to say, is fragrance good or bad? I don't think it's a plain answer. I personally don't think it's a bad thing because honestly, if you were to put products with really raw materials and they smell, well, yeah, I'm going to want a little bit of fragrance to make the experience a little bit better. But I will say, with Environ, they have very little smells to their products, and most of them actually don't have fragrance in there. They might have a few ingredients that have a little bit tiny amount, but if you're someone that's super sensitive to fragrance, you should look into Environ because the smells are just not there. Like there's really barely any smells. So again, check with your skin professional. But yes, I don't have a really plain black or white answer. I just think you need to understand that it is a more complex question than just saying yes or no. You have to look at individual factors. You have to look at your skin. You have to look at maybe some possible allergies that you may have. There's just the list goes on and on. So to me personally and professionally, as a person that works in this environment and with these products, I don't think there's anything wrong with fragrance. Obviously, some brands tend to smell a little stronger than others, but I don't think, and I've touched many skins in my lifetime, there's really if they're well formulated, if they're backed up with science data, if they have been trialed and tested, I don't think there's any issues with using a product that has a tiny, teeny bit of fragrance. Personally, I like to have it a little bit because I feel like it just adds to the experience when you're using the products, but that's just me. So I hope this enlightened you and that made you ask yourself a few questions. Don't fall into the trend of, following what the others are saying, that everything should be fragrance free, everything should be clean, everything should be, these are all terms that are not technically regulated. So do your research. Make sure you have a skin professional that you can talk to that knows your skin as well, because, you can look on Google all day long. That's when I talked about the last podcast. Don't base yourself just off of Google. Make sure that you actually do the research to speak with someone that knows skin. So hopefully this didn't make you more confused, but it made you more educated on the subject. So again, if you want to reach us, you can find us on Instagram at metaesthétique, or you can send us an email to have a longer conversation, hello@themetaesthétique.com, and we will be excited to see you and to answer your questions. And yeah, if you have questions about your skin and you don't know where to start, come in for a dermal imaging session. It is awesome. We can tell you the history of your skin. We can, make you a custom plan. And yeah, that's kind of what we do. So hopefully we'll see you soon, and we will chat on the next episode.